Dawn breaks over Mystic River. Smoke curls from longhouses where families sleep. In hours, this village becomes a funeral pyre. The morning of May 26, 1637, will reshape America forever. History remembers massacres. This one created a nation. You know war, you've seen battles, heard heroic conquest tales. But what happens when soldiers circle sleeping families? When fire replaces combat? Tonight, witness an event so brutal that participants themselves question their humanity. Some mornings change everything forever. The Pequot controlled these Connecticut lands for generations. Traders, warriors, diplomats. They built a confederation commanding respect and fear. Their fortified villages seemed impregnable. Yet one dawn, colonial ambition and native alliance politics converged into catastrophe. Nothing would remain the same afterward. Captain John Mason leads 90 English soldiers through darkness. His Mohegan and Narragansett guides know every trail. They move silently, surrounding the sleeping village. Mason carries more than weapons. He carries orders that will haunt his conscience forever. Some choices echo through centuries. Inside palisade walls, Sassacus's people dream. Children nestle beside mothers. Warriors rest after yesterday's corn planting. The village holds 70 longhouses, maybe 400 souls. None suspect that colonial politics and tribal rivalries condemn them. Peace feels permanent until it shatters instantly. Mason pauses outside the entrance. His hand trembles on his sword. He's fought Europeans before. Open battles, honorable combat. But orders are clear: total destruction, no quarter given. He thinks of his Connecticut wife. Would she recognize him after today's work? The Mohegan guide? Uncas watches Mason's hesitation. Uncas has reasons. Pequot dominance over his people, years of tribute and humiliation. Tonight isn't about English expansion for him. Tonight settles old scores. Revenge wears many uniforms. Sometimes allies share only mutual hatred and convenience. First light touches the palisade. Mason signals. English soldiers rush both village entrances. Muskets roar. Pequot warriors, caught sleeping, scramble for weapons. But this isn't battle. It's already slaughter. Surprise transforms combat into butchery within heartbeats. War becomes murder when enemies cannot fight. A Pequot mother named Wequash clutches her daughter tightly. They huddle in their longhouse, listening to screams outside. Her husband died fighting moments ago. Now she faces impossible choices. Hide, run. Fire smell reaches her. She realizes nowhere is safe. Sometimes heroism means simply surviving. Lieutenant John Underhill watches his men torch longhouses systematically. Dry bark and reed roofs ignite instantly. He remembers European warfare, sieges, negotiations, surrender terms. This follows no rules he recognizes. He'll write later about this morning. His words will drip with shame and regret. Flames spread rapidly between structures. The palisade, designed for protection, now traps everyone inside. Families rush toward entrances where English muskets wait. Choose fire or bullets. Smoke fills lungs. Children cry for parents. Warriors fight through flames protecting escape routes. Courage looks different facing genocide. Wequash carries her daughter through thick smoke. Other villagers rush past, some already aflame. An English soldier raises his musket toward them. She throws herself sideways. The shot misses narrowly. She stumbles through the southern entrance into marsh beyond. Behind, the village becomes inferno. Mason stands outside, watching his handiwork unfold before him. The screams disturb even hardened soldiers nearby. He ordered this conflagration, believing Pequot elimination served God's will. Puritan doctrine promised divine approval. But godliness feels distant amid burning flesh. Faith justifies much, until you hear dying children's screams. Some Pequot warriors break through the English line desperately. They fight with desperate fury, knowing families burn behind them. Their courage accomplishes nothing meaningful. Mohegan and Narragansett warriors surround them quickly. Tribal politics condemn these fighters, not English bullets but native betrayal. Alliances cost blood on all sides involved. Uncas himself kills a Pequot Sachem trying to escape. Their tribes once traded, even intermarried generations ago. Now, politics trump kinship bonds completely. Uncas understands what English don't. This massacre reshapes native power structures forever. The Pequot Confederation crumbles today. His tribe rises tomorrow morning. Calculations remain cold. You must understand the context here. English colonists feared Pequot's strength greatly. Trade disputes escalated to violence. Colonial authorities demanded retribution for killed traders. The Pequot refused submission entirely. Pride and miscalculation on both sides created this morning. Yet understanding context doesn't justify genocide at all. Back to Wequash now. She hides in marsh reeds with her daughter. Smoke blankets the water surface. Other survivors huddle nearby, maybe 20 people from 400. They watch their home disappear into flame and ash. Everything, food stores, tools, memories, burns completely. They're refugees now, nothing more. Inside the palisade, fire consumes everything rapidly. Bodies pile at exits where people trampled each other, fleeing desperately. Heat becomes unbearable even outside the walls. English soldiers step back instinctively. Even Underhill, hardened by European wars, feels sickened. This exceeds warfare completely. This approaches extermination deliberately. An old Pequot man named Wopik stands in the village center alone. Flames surround him entirely. He's lived 80 winters, led ceremonies, taught children traditions. Now he chants death songs loudly. He won't flee like others. Fire takes him standing, defiant until his final breath ends. Some resist by refusing submission. Mason soldiers count bodies afterward carefully. Between 300 and 700 dead, mostly women, children, elderly. Exact numbers disappear into smoke like their lives. 7 English casualties total. Colonial reports will call this a great victory soon. Asymmetry defines massacres clearly. Success measured in corpses counted. A young English soldier named Samuel sits shaking uncontrollably. This is his first military action ever. He expected battle instead. Instead, he watched children burn alive. He'll carry these images until death finally comes. Some veterans speak of glory. Samuel will remember only screams forever. War creates 2 veteran types. The Narragansett warriors who helped encircle the village now seem troubled deeply. They expected combat, not wholesale slaughter of families. Their leader, Miantonimo, questions aloud whether this benefits his people. English power just expanded dramatically today. Maybe the Pequot enemies become tomorrow's victims instead. Conscience arrives late always. By noon, only ash remains completely. The fortified village, generations of construction, countless stories, accumulated wisdom, reduced to blackened earth. Survivors scatter through surrounding forests quickly. Colonial forces declare the Pequot war essentially over. One massacre accomplished what months of frontier skirmishing couldn't. Terror works effectively. Wequash leads survivors eastward through dense forest. They avoid trails, fearing pursuit constantly. Some are badly burned. Others mourn lost family members. She must organize them, find food, shelter, safety somehow. Leadership emerges from necessity alone. She never imagined becoming a sachem. Catastrophe creates unexpected leaders from ordinary people. News spreads through colonies rapidly. Boston authorities celebrate loudly. Plymouth leaders praise Mason's efficiency. Ministers preach Thanksgiving sermons enthusiastically. God has delivered the heathen unto righteous hands. Colonial expansion just became easier significantly. Guilt, if felt, hides beneath triumphalism. Winners write history their preferred way always. But Mason himself writes differently later. His personal account expresses unease clearly. He describes the burning as terrible and admits crying out for God's mercy. Even Puritan certainty falters facing consequences. He justified extermination beforehand completely. Memory proves harder to reconcile afterward. Some truths resist all justification. Underhill's account is more honest entirely. He describes colonists shouting, "Victory," while Pequot families burned alive. He notes the Narragansett allies' horror. "It was too furious," he writes, "and slew too many people." European warfare had rules. This exceeded them. Civilization proved thinner than assumed completely. Consider another perspective carefully. Imagine you're a Connecticut colonist. Your settlement remains vulnerable constantly. You've heard stories of Pequot raids frequently. Fear governs daily life completely. When Mason returns victorious, you feel relief finally. Safety seems purchased through violence. Only later do uncomfortable questions emerge about price. The Pequot survivors scatter everywhere. Wequash's group reaches a temporary camp. Others flee to different tribes seeking refuge desperately. Some are captured, enslaved, sold to Caribbean plantations. The Confederation fragments completely. Their language begins fading away. Cultures don't die in single moments. They erode through countless losses gradually. A Pequot boy named Cinnamon watches from hiding as the village burns. He's 12 years old. His mother died at the entrance. His father never returned from trade negotiations. He's alone now. This boy will survive, will adapt somehow. His descendants will reclaim their heritage centuries later. Memory outlasts extinction. The English pursue surviving Pequot groups through summer relentlessly. The Fairfield swamp fight in July traps hundreds more. Colonial forces show no mercy whatsoever. Treaties and declarations formalize what fire began. Pequot elimination as a people. Names are forbidden legally. Land is confiscated immediately. Erasure seems complete and total. Miantanamo, the Narragansett leader, realizes his error clearly. By helping English destroy the Pequot, he's unleashed unstoppable colonial expansion. His own people will face similar pressures within years. Alliances built on mutual enemies prove unstable always. He's strengthened the force that will eventually consume his nation entirely. Uncas and the Mohegan benefit briefly only. Colonial authorities favor them, grant them former Pequot lands. But dependency grows quickly. English protection requires submission completely. Within decades, the Mohegan lose autonomy too. Short-term victories mask long-term subjugation. Every tribal leader must calculate impossible odds constantly. Back to Samuel, the young soldier. He deserts within months afterward. He can't reconcile Puritan teachings with burning families. His whereabouts remain unknown forever. Perhaps he joined natives. Perhaps he simply disappeared into wilderness. Some consciences refuse compliance stubbornly. History occasionally remembers the deserters who left. Wequash and her daughter survive, eventually. They find refuge among the Pequot remnants who submit to English authority. She remarries later. Life continues in diminished circumstances. Her daughter grows up speaking both Pequot and English fluently. Cultural survival requires adaptation constantly. Sometimes endurance means accepting profound loss forever. The burning of the Mystic Village establishes a terrible precedent clearly. King Philip's War, 40 years later, will see similar massacres. Colonial expansion repeatedly employs total war against native populations. The strategy proves effective always. Moral qualms disappear beneath pragmatic success. Precedent becomes policy. Violence normalizes through repetition constantly. Think about how you'd react honestly. Your community faces destruction imminently. Do you fight knowing defeat seems certain? Submit, hoping mercy arrives? Flee abandoning everything familiar? The Pequot faced these choices exactly. There were no good options available. Impossible situations reveal character while offering no solutions whatsoever. An English minister named Thomas Hooker preaches celebrating the victory enthusiastically. He cites biblical precedents, Joshua at Jericho, David against Philistines. Divine will justifies slaughter completely. His congregation nods approval unanimously. Religion sanctifies violence when God supposedly picks sides. Faith becomes weapon deployed against designated enemies efficiently. Yet another minister, Roger Williams, questions the massacre openly. He knows natives personally, respects their humanity deeply. He writes critically about excessive force. His dissent costs him influence immediately. Colonial authorities prefer unified narratives. Questioning victory becomes disloyalty. Conscience sometimes demands unpopularity. Williams chooses it anyway. The Treaty of Hartford in September 1638 officially ends the Pequot War. Surviving Pequot are distributed as servants to victorious tribes. The Pequot name is forbidden legally. Their lands are divided among colonists. Complete victory looks like erasure. Treaties formalize what violence began earlier. Genocide becomes a legal document. But consider implementation carefully. Colonial authorities order Pequot identity erased completely. Yet, people remember stubbornly. They teach children secretly. They preserve stories underground. They maintain kinship networks despite prohibitions. Cultural destruction proves harder than military victory. Identity survives in whispers when proclamations forbid it. Resistance takes unexpected forms always. Cinnamon, that 12-year-old boy who witnessed everything, becomes crucial later. He lives secretly as Pequot while publicly identifying as Mohican. He marries. He teaches his children their true heritage. Through him, knowledge survives intact. One person's memory can preserve entire cultures against official erasure attempts. Mason returns to civilian life eventually. He becomes a colonial leader, respected magistrate. His reputation as Indian fighter serves him well. Yet, private writings reveal persistent unease. The burning haunts him. He dies believing he served divine purpose. Whether God agreed remains unknowable. Conscience speaks different languages always. Underhill faces harder reckoning entirely. He tries justifying the massacre in published accounts. His descriptions undermine his arguments. The horror shows through. He's eventually exiled from Massachusetts for other controversies. His legacy remains tied to that morning. Some memories define lifetimes regardless of subsequent achievements. Native communities across the region absorbed the lesson clearly. Pequot's strength couldn't save them. Spanish diseases had weakened populations. English technology and ruthlessness proved overwhelming. Each tribe must calculate survival odds. Resistance brings annihilation. Submission offers temporary reprieve. There are no winning choices available to them. Yet resistance continues underground. The Pequot survivors who scattered don't disappear. They maintain identity secretly. Some hide among other tribes. Some blend into colonial society while remembering heritage. Cultural continuity requires flexibility. What colonists see as victory, survivors see as temporary setback. Timescales differ dramatically between cultures. Consider the children affected. English colonial children grow up hearing heroic tales of the Pequot War. Native children hear cautionary stories about what happens when you resist. Both groups absorb lessons that will shape future interactions. The massacre's legacy extends through generations, yet unborn then. Wequash eventually dies peacefully decades later. Her daughter survives to old age. Her grandchildren scatter through southern New England. Some maintain Pequot identity secretly, others assimilate completely. The family tree branches across tribal and colonial boundaries. Survival sometimes means becoming invisible. Memory preserved through bloodlines continues forward. The site itself becomes farmland quickly. Colonial families settle where the village stood. They plant corn over ash. Children play where children died. Geography forgets what history remembers. Soil accepts all equally. Only names on deeds hint that anyone lived there before colonists. Land holds no grudges. But oral traditions persist stubbornly. Native elders across New England tell the story. Details vary, but the core remains. English forces burned sleeping families. The story serves as warning and memorial. When writing fails or is forbidden, memory depends on telling. Stories become resistance. Voices carry what documents cannot. Fast forward to the 19th century. The Pequot name resurfaces legally. Descendants who maintained hidden identity begin reclaiming heritage publicly. Legal battles restore recognition. The erasure wasn't complete. Colonial authorities declared victory prematurely. You can't kill identity with proclamations. Culture proves more durable than assumed by conquerors. Modern archaeology excavates the site carefully. Burn layers, personal items, human remains emerge. Physical evidence confirms oral histories exactly. The massacre wasn't exaggerated. If anything, written accounts understated horror. Ground holds truths that official histories obscured. Dirt remembers what documents forget. Earth testifies against lies. Today, the Mashantucket Pequot and Eastern Pequot nations exist legally. They've reclaimed federal recognition after centuries of denial. They've rebuilt communities, established museums, preserved language and traditions. From near extinction to resurgence took 400 years. Survival measured across generations defies expectations. Persistence defeats erasure always. The massacre site now hosts memorials appropriately. markers acknowledge what happened honestly. School groups visit regularly. Historians debate details and implications. The ground seems ordinary until you know the story. Then every step feels weighted. Places remember violence. They demand recognition. Geography becomes testimony finally. Think about legacy carefully. That dawn in 1637 established precedents for total war against native populations. Similar tactics repeated across the continent for 3 centuries. The burning at Mystic became a template. Violence normalized through repetition. One massacre justified future massacres. Precedent becomes permission always. Yet Mason's uncertainty matters too. His discomfort reveals that even perpetrators recognize moral boundaries crossed. Their own writings condemn their actions. The justifications sound hollow even to their authors. Conscience persisted despite ideology. Humanity reasserted itself uncomfortably amid triumph. Self-doubt haunts even victors sometimes. Consider the Narragansett and Mohegan who participated willingly. Their calculations proved tragically wrong. The English they helped became oppressors. Tribal politics produced Pyrrhic victories. By enabling one group's destruction, they facilitated their own subjugation. Alliance choices ripple unpredictably. Yesterday's partner becomes tomorrow's threat inevitably. The fire lasted hours. Bodies smoldered for days. The smell lingered across the region. Physical senses remember when memory denies. Survivors couldn't escape the scent. It marked them permanently. Trauma isn't just psychological. It imprints through every sense. Recovery requires acknowledging all dimensions of suffering. A final image. Casa Cinnamon as an old man. He's teaching his grandchildren Pequot words that colonial law forbids. They huddle at night, whispering heritage into young ears. He knows he won't live to see recognition restored, but he plants seeds regardless. Hope defies logic sometimes. Faith transcends circumstances. The morning of May 26, 1637, lasted maybe 2 hours of active violence. The burning continued longer, but the consequences extended 4 centuries and counting. Time collapses in memory. That dawn remains perpetually present. Some moments never truly end. History becomes eternal present tense. The Pequot survivors established something important: the possibility of endurance. Colonial authorities declared their extinction confidently. History seemed to confirm it. Yet, continuous presence, even underground, preserved eventual resurgence. Invisibility isn't the same as absence. Silence sometimes protects what would be destroyed if acknowledged openly. Strategy becomes survival. Today we recognize the massacre as genocide, deliberate, systematic destruction of a people. 16th century participants lacked that vocabulary, but they understood what they'd done. Their descriptions reveal awareness of crossing moral boundaries. Language evolves, recognition follows. Some truths wait centuries for proper naming. Words matter profoundly. So, what remains 400 years later? The Pequot people, present, recognized, thriving. The memory, preserved, studied, acknowledged. The land, still there, now understood differently. Massacre didn't accomplish its goal. Extinction failed. Sometimes the most important historical lesson is that nothing stays buried forever. Truth resurfaces always. You've journeyed to a dark place tonight, witnessed humanity's capacity for organized cruelty, but also glimpsed resilience, survival, eventual restoration. History contains multitudes. The Pequot story encompasses genocide and Renaissance. Both truths coexist. Memory demands acknowledging all of it. Completeness requires embracing contradictions. That dawn in 1637 changed New England forever. But not how perpetrators intended. They expected erasure. Instead, they created witnesses. Violence hoped to end a story. It actually ensured its preservation. Memory proves stronger than fire. Sometimes the intended lesson differs completely from the taught one.